Hello all and welcome to today's lecture. So in this video, we are going to learn about errors in Solidity. What is an error in Solidity? Errors in Solidity provide a gas-efficient way to convey to the user why an operation failed. It can be defined inside and outside a contract. When we say outside a contract, we can define errors inside libraries or interfaces as well. Let us see the different ways in which we can make use of errors in Solidity. First is the require statement. The syntax for require is require first evaluates a condition. If the condition is evaluated to false, then it will revert that transaction or operation with an error message. When to use require? Require statements are used to validate inputs and conditions before execution. Let us take a look at the code example of require. This errors smart contract is being used from Solidity by example website. Here we have used a function testRequire which accepts an unsigned integer 256 variable, and what we are doing, we are checking the value I passed to the function testRequire is greater than 10. If you pass the value of underscore I to be 9, in that case, this condition will be evaluated to false and the operation or transaction will be reverted with the message input must be greater than 10. Let us try this out. First, click on compile. The contract is compiled. Let us expand this. Here, error contract is already selected. Click on deploy. The contract is deployed. Now clicking on the error contract, I will select testRequire function. First, I will pass in the value 20. Now when we pass in the value 20, in that case, this condition will be evaluated to 2. In that case, the transaction will go successfully. Let us try it out. Here, the transaction has gone successfully. However, now if I pass in the value of underscore I to be 8, this must revert. Here it shows the transaction has been reverted, and the reason is the transaction has been reverted to the initial state. A reason provided by the contract, input must be greater than 10. Hence, require statements are used to validate inputs and conditions before execution. Let us take a look at the second type using which we can throw errors from Solidity smart contracts. The second one is the revert statement. When we use revert is unconditional. That is, it does not evaluate any condition, but if you want to return an error, all you have to do is use the keyword revert and the error message. It is similar to require, but the only difference is a revert does not evaluate any condition. Let us take a look at the example of revert. After testRequire, we have this function testRevert. Now inside this testRevert function, it also accepts an argument of type uint256. Here we check if the value of that argument is less than equal to 10. In that case, revert. So let us invoke that function. Here we have testRevert. Let us pass the value of I to be 5, and when I click on call, it will return the transaction has been reverted. So it shows the transaction has been reverted to the initial state. Reason provided by the contract, input must be greater than 10. Simple difference is require evaluates a condition, then returns an error message. Revert directly returns an error message. The third kind is using assert statements inside the smart contract. What is assert? Assert evaluates a condition. When to use assert statement inside Solidity, it is used to check for code that should never be false. Let us take a look at an example of that. Here we have defined a state variable called num, which is of type uint256. inside testAssert function, what we are doing, they are asserting initially that the number should be equal to 0, because here we haven't assigned the number, we haven't assigned any value to this number state variable. Hence, inside testAssert function, we are asserting that num should always be 0. Num is always equal to 0 since it is impossible to update the value of num. Now, inside this error smart contract, this num value is never updated. Hence, when we call testAssert, num should always be equal to 0. Let us do that. Select a function, testAssert, click on call. The call went on successfully. After that, the final thing is custom errors in Solidity. So what are custom errors? First, how do we define a custom error? Use the keyword error, then the name of the error, and inside parenthesis, the arguments that your error will return. So custom errors are gas efficient. It is recommended to use custom error instead of the require statement. It is recommended to use custom errors instead of the require statement, because if your require statement consumes 20,000 gas, your custom errors will consume say 1,000 to 2,000 gas. Let us take a look at custom errors and how do we define that. Here inside the smart contract, we use the keyword error, the name of the error. Now this error will return two arguments, balance and withdraw amount. Inside test custom error function, it accepts withdraw amount as an input argument, and at line number 36 we see that we are fetching the balance of the contract. Then we check if the balance of the contract is less than the withdrawal amount, then we revert. So imagine custom errors on the lines of event. Whenever we want to return emit an event from the smart contract, we use the keyword emit. So, and in case of error, whenever you want to return an error, you must use the keyword revert followed by the name of the custom error and then the values that it returns. Here, balance and withdrawal amount. Let us test that. Clicking on test custom error. Here you can see the balance of the contract is 0 ETH. So when I click on say 100 and click on call, it must have been reverted. So it says the transaction has been reverted to the initial state. What is the error provided by the contract? It is insufficient balance, and the parameters are balance, its value is 0, and the withdrawal amount, its value is 100. So this is how you define a custom error, and this is how you emit a custom error or say throw a custom error from within a contract. At last, errors have members too. What is the member of an error? So error has this error.selector, which returns a bytes4 value containing the error selector. Let us take a look at code example. Here we have the function get error selector. It in external pure returns bytes4 error selector. And this error selector we have assigned equal to the name of our custom error dot the selector. Let us click on that. What is the value? It is get error selector. Here it is. Now if I click on this, it will return a bytes4 value. Now this bytes4 value is nothing but the selector for our custom error. So let me summarize what we have learned today. We have seen what is an error in Solidity. Errors provide a gas efficient way to convey to the user by an operation field. They can be defined inside or outside a contract. When we say outside a contract, they can be defined inside libraries or interfaces. What are the ways in which you can emit or throw errors from within Solidity contracts? First, making use of the require statement. When to use require? To validate input and condition before execution. Then we have a revert statement. Revert is similar to require, but it is unconditional. That is, in case of require, there is a condition to evaluate, then the error message is returned. In case of revert, directly the error message is returned. The third one is assert. It evaluates a condition and that condition must always be true. it should never be false. And at last we have custom errors. So these are gas efficient. It is always recommended to use custom errors in case of require statements. And how do we define custom errors? Using the keyword error followed by the name of the error and the arguments that this error will return. And how to emit this or return this error from the contract is to make use of the keyword revert followed by the name of the error. At last, members of errors include error.selector. What is error.selector? It is a bytes 4 value containing the error selector. I hope you would have learned something valuable today. If yes, please do like, share and subscribe. Thank you.